الرحمن. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا حجة الله في عرضه، السلام عليك يا عين الله في خلقه، السلام عليك يا نور الله الذي يهتدي به المهتدون ويفرج به عن المؤمنين. السلام عليك أيها المهذب الخائف، السلام عليك أيها الولي الناصح، السلام عليك يا سفينة النجاة، السلام عليك يا عين الحياة، السلام عليك صلى الله عليك وآل بيتك الطيبين الطاهرين. السلام عليك أجر الله لك ما وعدك من النصر وظهور الأمر. السلام عليك يا مولاه، أنا مولاك عارف بأولاك وأخراك، أتقرب إلى الله تعالى بك وبآل بيتك، وانتظروا ظهورك وظهور الحق على يديك، وأسأل الله أن يصلي على محمد وآل محمد، وأن يجعلني من المنتظرين لك والتابعين والناصرين لك على أعدائك، والمستشهدين بين يديك في جملة أوليائك. يا مولاه يا صاحب الزمان، صلوات الله عليك وعلى آل بيتك. هذا يوم الجمعة، وهو يومك المتوقع فيه ظهورك، والفرج فيه للمؤمنين على يديك، وقتل الكافرين بسيفك. وأنا يا مولاي فيه ضيفك وجارك، وأنت يا مولاي كريم من أولاد الكرام، ومعمور بالضيافة والإجارة، فاطفني وأجرني، صلوات الله عليك وعلى أهل بيتك الطيبين الطاهرين. السلام عليك يا أهل بيت النبوة جميعا، ورحمة الله وبركاته.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر، الله أكبر، الله أكبر، الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا ولي الله، صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا حجة الله، صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. هيا على الصلاة، هيا على الصلاة، هيا على الفلاح، هيا على الفلاح، هيا على خير العمل، هيا على خير العمل. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله، لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
أحسنت. جزاك الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فوض أمري إلى الله إن الله بصير بالعباد ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ونعم المولى ونعم النصير. والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على الرسول المسدد المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد الذي سمي في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرض بأبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. وقل رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد، قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتاب الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، إن الدين عند الله الإسلام. صدق الله العلي العظيم. زينوا مجالسكم بالصلوات على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل. My respected elders, brothers and sisters in Iman here in Florida, across the globe, wherever you're hearing my voice, Salamun alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Question: how does one build a community? Keep this question in the back of your mind. We've been discussing, and we began a conversation last week on the concept of leadership and how that is distinguished from management, and how it's important to have leadership in order to move and chart the path forward of an organization, an institution, in fact a nation, in fact nations beyond that. And it's very important to understand this. When we, for example, come to the history of the world, you will find, whether it is in Judaism in the Hebrew Bible, or you find in Christianity within the Bible, or if you find in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent messengers, He sent apostles, He sent emissaries who were there to spread His message, to make sure that people know what the divine message is. And in that He made them leaders. These were people who, the ultimate test of leadership is in fact this: that the ultimate test of leadership is, can you lead people who do not have to follow you? That is, can you lead, for example, volunteers? Can you lead people who don't need to follow you? Oftentimes, we get confused in organizations and institutions. When we pay someone some wage or salary, we think we're their leader. Whereas the people who have studied this space have understood that that's not the reality of the matter. If you remove the incentive, will the person still follow you or not? When you look at the example of Musa alayhi salam, although the difficulties, we started with Nuh. And we said that every leader faces adversity in their life. Every leader faces a difficulty or a challenge in life. And we said that sometimes leadership, we have an image or a picture of what a leader is in our minds, but that picture may not necessarily mean that person's a leader. Oftentimes we get confused. Is the month of the Ummah, the people, the believers. These 3 months, Rajab, Sha'ban, and Shahr Ramadan that we're embarking on, these are opportune times for us to revive our spirituality, to become people of the best that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنحون عن المنكر. Who are you? You're the best of nations. Who are you? The same principle. Amr bil ma'ruf nahin al munkar, promoting good, forbidding evil. First within ourselves and embodying that. Rajab is also that month which we have numerous very important dates. Dates, for example, we just commemorated the date of Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, his wilada, but also we have the wafat and the shahadat of our 10th Imam tonight, which we hope to see people inshallah for. But there's other very, very important dates. For example, we will commemorate the 9th Imam as well. So 10th Imam tonight and then 9th Imam. and then eventually we culminate with the first Imam, of course, on the 13th of Rajab. And there's also other dates, for example, the wafat of Bibi Zainab and also Mi'raj. These are very, very important milestones for you and I to reflect on each of these personalities. Coming back to leadership, when we remember and commemorate these individuals, each individual had a particular style of leadership. Each individual had a way and a procedure about how they led. Sayyid Khamenei has written a book. The book is entitled The 250-Year-Old Person. 250-year-old person? We haven't heard of people living that long. We haven't heard of people living that long in our era. Modern science is saying the maximum estimated age that someone can have is 150 years if you eat right, exercise, and have the best genetics. 250-year-old person, how is it possible? We hear about this in the time of Nuh. People used to live very long. But in this era, yes. He says the era from Rasulullah to the Imam of our time, that era was one person. It was not 12, it was not 14. Because he makes the argument that the movement of each one was united. That is, if you put all of the Ahlul Bayt into one room, they would be completely aligned. There would be no difference on how they should proceed. This gives us a very important element of leadership. That is, the leader adapts with their times. What is needed for the time, the leadership takes on what is needed for that particular era and that particular time. Why do I say this? My dear brothers and sisters, we're at a critical junction. You know this, and I've been very clear about this. It's very easy for me to come here, speak a few words, and then we move on in a manner that is just filling and checking the boxes. My time, your time is too valuable for that. We have this beautiful infrastructure here, and we have a lot to do. My hope and my goal is, as a community, I don't know how long I'll be here. I don't know how long you'll be here. We have a very small amount of time on. If you look at what other communities are doing in America, in a shorter time than us, they have gotten a lot further. I would invite you to look at New England Patriots that was misdirected, not supposed to be sent to him, about they don't care about their own persona. Leadership wants that they are removed from the picture, that when they are removed, will the work still carry on well down the line? Because remember, movements are always begun with leaders, and they always last with leaders. You cannot impose someone to follow. Why do I say this? In conclusion, look, in the first khutbah, we need people to step up to the plate and actually implement those things that will help us survive in the long run. Right there, right before your eyes. Someone will build another mosque, someone will build another masjid, someone will build another Husayniyah. That's $15, $20, $30 million. It may be down the street. The same will happen. It will also. You have 3, you have 4, you have 5, all of them, the same trajectory will happen. It either becomes a mosque, to a church, to a museum. And then eventually becomes a tourist site. This is not locally. I went to Lucknow in India. You have the Bada Imam Barga, one of the most iconic things that one can imagine. It was made at that time, over 250, 300 years ago, without any cement. It's unbelievable. Now, you have people, it's used as a tourist destination. Yes, they have occasional majalises there, but predominantly it's not. Look, learn from the pages of history. What do we have to do? We have to But the same thing's going to happen that happened to every other religious community in America. is going to happen to us as well. There won't be anything. We need leaders to plan for the next generation, for those who are there. Why are our youth not consistently coming? Ask them what type of programs they want and get them involved. Let's get them involved. Let's invite them to the table. Oftentimes, and I'm pointing the finger to myself first, we talk about what do young people want, but we don't have them at the table of discussion. What do they need? Maybe a dialogue. It's not just a monologue. I'm just up here talking. We have a dialogue. What about a panel discussion and a panel conversation? We have about us working together. You talked about economic development. You talk about social development. You talk about, us building. I want to share a story with you. I said, please. He said, I'm from Iraq. He said he was an Iraq.
سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمد ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف.
الله أكبر. الحمد لله وخير الأسماء لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.